Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. I'm Brock Galvin, soon to be joined by Dwight Smith. It is here, the FCS Kickoff Classic, a Week 0 matchup in Montgomery, Alabama that we've all been waiting for is just 24 hours away. If you're tuning in, thanks for joining. As always, you can follow us on AggiePridePodcast.com. That's where you'll be able to follow all of our social channels, Instagram, X, YouTube. You can subscribe on all of them. You can also listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple. If you subscribe on Spotify for $5 a month, you get exclusive bonus episodes. You get early access to episodes each week, and you'll get additional merchandise discounts moving forward. Speaking of merchandise, navy and beige Aggie Pride Classic hats are almost done. We had our pre-sale, which did great a couple weeks ago. If you're interested in purchasing one, you can now go to AggiePridePodcast.com and you'll see on the homepage a link to buy the hats. You'll also see a buy hat button at the top. Dwight and I go through a pretty extensive preview of the game. And then we have an exclusive interview with our former teammate, actually someone from the wide receiver room with Dwight, who caught over 100 passes in his Aggie career, who's the current offensive coordinator at Mercer. Very unique opportunity for us to catch up with Anthony Soto. So stick around for that at the end. All right, enjoy.
The Aggie Football Fund provides essential gap funding for the UC Davis football program, empowering the team to access vital resources for player development and program success. It also reconnects and engages former football alumni to maintain the legacy of Aggie Pride and perpetuity. Through direct and flexible support, the AFF bridges funding gaps while fostering a thriving alumni community. Visit AggieFootballFund.com for more information. Aggie Pride is proud to partner with JG Graphics in Rancho Cordova, the spot for custom apparel, embroidery, and printing. Aggie alum Pete Povey and his team helped us design and produce our Aggie Pride hats, and the quality is next level. If you need gear for your business, team, or next big event, Pete will take care of you from first idea to final stitch. Support a fellow Aggie and check them out at jg.graphics or visit their shop in Rancho Cordova.
UC Davis football stands for tradition, teamwork, and having each other's back, especially when times get tough. That's why we're proud to partner with Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson, a respected California law firm with over 55 years of experience helping families and businesses prepare for life's unexpected turns. Whether you're navigating estate planning, probate and trust matters, civil litigation, or elder law, the team at BPM&J offers clear, compassionate guidance through California's legal landscape. BPM&J is deeply rooted in Aggie Pride. The firm is led by Craig Judson, a double UC Davis alum, and the Sacramento office is supervised by his son, Scott Judson, former Aggie Pack MC and past president of the UC Davis Cal Aggie Alumni Association. 4 other attorneys in the firm are also proud Aggies. From starting a family to managing assets or honoring a loved one's legacy, Scott, Craig, and the BPM&J team are here to help with confidence, care, and compassion. Their services include estate planning, such as wills, trusts, and powers of attorney, incapacity and elder law planning, probate and trust administration and litigation, conservatorships and guardianships, and general civil litigation. With offices in Walnut Creek and Sacramento, BPM&J serves clients throughout California. Visit bpmnj.com to schedule a free consultation. And this season, listeners of the Aggie Pride podcast will receive an exclusive $500 discount on the preparation of a comprehensive estate plan. Just mention the podcast when you book your free consultation with either Scott or Craig. Please note this message does not constitute legal advice. For personalized guidance, contact BPM&J directly. The firm's attorneys are licensed only in California. Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson. Powered by Aggie Pride.
Welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. It's kind of a mouthful, especially when you have no wisdom teeth. On Dwight. How you doing?
Well, you might be lacking in a few wisdom teeth, but still a wise man, and still the host, co-host of the Aggie Pride podcast, and co-host and producer. That's really important to continue to remind people. But I'm doing well, man. I'm hoping you're feeling better day by day. As your week started out with getting the wisdom teeth pulled, but hopefully each day progressively you've been getting more excited like I have, because we're here. We're here. It's week 0 and the Ags are en route. Maybe I've already arrived in Montgomery, Alabama, getting ready for Saturday's tilt. So I'm fired up for this episode.
Yeah, Friday morning would be the normal departure time for most away games. They left a little bit early. That's something that, Coach Plow said they're trying to naturally just get there earlier to acclimate. It's a long trip. We don't travel east of, Colorado too often. We actually did a handful of times when we played.
Mm-hmm.
You went on that Boston trip to Northeastern
Yep.
that same year or the year before, Central Arkansas. And then, there's been a lot of Midwest and Northwest and, Utah. Shoot, we play 3 FCS Utah schools this year, and it sounds like that's going to be a lot of our future too. So fun, far trip, a historic place in a lot of ways. You and I have both been there for work in different ways, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll also talk about one reason why Dwight is so excited is he's golfing on Saturday before the game, and he's hoping to have back-to-back wins over Brock and then go into victory to the FCS Kickoff Classic. So let's just talk about golf for 60 seconds, Dwight. How's your game? How you been playing with Pat Shelton lately?
Yeah, what Brock's referring to is that Bobby Erskine and I are the current and reigning scramble champions, between the foursome of Brock, Patrick, Bobby, and I. And we'll have our record tested, I think, in a real way come
I think
Saturday,
so.
because I happen to know that one Pat Shelton has his short game dialed in. Hold
That's what
out
I hear.
a 40-yard chip today. I mean, I hope to have that as one of my life accomplishments, to hole out from off the green. So Pat is dialed. I'm feeling, a little all over the place, but I'll be with Bobby Erskine, who can drive the ball. So that gives me a bit of a fallback. But excited. Like Brock said, we'll kick off the day on Saturday with some golf among buddies, and then settle in for the 4 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah, dude, that's kind of a dream day. We're having a dream day before Dwight heads to Ethiopia, and the golf is fun, but like the matchup is pretty spicy. Sam Herder had his prediction article go live today for the Mercer UC Davis game. Spoiler alert, he picks UC Davis with an 8-point victory, 28-20. And there's been a lot of polls online. We've put out stuff. Naturally, our audience is very biased. Most people are picking us to win, which I'm a little intrigued because we're cross country, neutral site in quotes, and we're playing a redshirt freshman quarterback who's never taken a college snap. Whereas DJ Smith, as Coach Soto will share with us in his interview, played half the season for the Bears last year. So very intriguing matchup. And, there's a lot of different places that we could go with this to start. But I think we should start with the quarterback. It's been one of the big requests in questions on Instagram and Aggie Sports Talk. People are very excited about Caden Pinnock. People feel very bad for Grant Harper. I think that is also equally like yoked. And at the same time, I posted a clip of Caden scrambling around in a Sac Joaquin section game last year, and you just open your eyes really wide when you watch him play.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude, to have a dynamic athlete at the quarterback position, it's a lot of things. But the thing it is the most is fun. Like, it makes the game fun. It makes watching UC Davis fun. Land Larison made it fun. He got the ball 25 times, 30 times a game. Caden's going to touch the ball 75 times a game. He might hand it off. He might throw it quick, but he's going to have way more opportunities to impact and influence the game. We know this about quarterbacks. It's why it's the most important position. So my 2 cents on Caden Pinnock is dynamic basketball player, dynamic baseball player, dynamic leader, dynamic competitor, has a nice strong handshake when I shake his hand at practice, looks me in the eye on the day he's announced. Congratulations, man. Just another day. Just another day. Just going about my business. He's got a it factor that he gives off a very like mature ambiance, and that confidence I think is relayed through the rest of the team. Now, the tough side of that is like you're young and you throw a couple picks in the first quarter and like you have a 6-year senior who's like dialed and accurate and who people love. And so I think that what Caden has to do is just like that same mindset that he had with me. Like, I'm just focused on doing my job the best I can and not trying to be Superman. Sometimes guys with that much talent try to take over a game in all the ways that they can. And hopefully Coach Plow, he's wiser than us. He'll call the game, and he always scripts well early. He'll call the game in a Caden friendly way early on. The run game with the experienced O-line and 3 backs who people are excited about is the thing that keeps coming up in fall camp. And so that's my early thoughts on Caden Pinnock. Just take it one moment at a time, Caden. Everyone's behind you. You don't need to be Superman. You just be you, and you might be Superman.
Right. Yeah, a couple quick thoughts just reacting to that, Brock. First on the Grant Harper piece, way back in the day, I was also a backup quarterback. And so it's just so interesting to think about the quarterback room is how it operates is a special thing because it's one guy. In the receiver room, there's the 2 deep, there's role guys that come in for certain packages. Quarterback room, for the most part, it's one guy. And to have invested all the time, do your best to put your best foot forward and have the decision made that you're not going to be the number one guy. That's extremely difficult. And yet everything I've heard about that quarterback room, even talking with Miles the other day, they're all getting behind Caden. And I know Grant is as well. And you heard Plow talk about it as well earlier this week. And so, he's got to stay ready. He's got to be right there imparting his wisdom and experience into Caden's ear. And, that's the role. And it's a very important role. For Caden, it's so exciting because all the pieces are there for him to be incredibly special. Obviously, the talent that he brings, his demeanor, his approach, like you said, Plow, the quarterback whisperer, kind of being there with him, the O-line with so much experience, the dependable backs who I'm excited to see what the backfield actually does. Some names that we know and have seen in certain dosages during the Land Larison era will now be able to get a lot more opportunities and shine. So I think, I have a feeling about this, Brock, and it's just a feeling. I think we have something incredibly special on our hands in Caden Pinnock. And, we'll just have to see. There's going to be learning moments. But my feeling is that there are going to be fewer and less significant, as in game-changing learning moments than you might expect from when you just hear redshirt freshman quarterback. the guy like you experienced. It almost seems like everything I'm hearing, he's kind of got this mature old soul in this redshirt freshman body. And I think that's going to help him. I think it's going to help the team. But it's super excited to see what he does, what the team does on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is so excited because of what he has, man. Because of all the traits that we see. And Saturday we get to watch it in a game like situation. I mean, he popped off at the scrimmage. He popped off in at the spring game. Anyone who's seen him in person is impressed. So it's interesting from our vantage point too. Like we don't want to like hype him up too much and like add any unnecessary
Yeah.
pressure. And it's also just like this is real life, you know. So one thing I want us to talk about for a little bit is national TV and and the pressure of playing in a game that will get viewership and playing in a game where like all your buddies text you from back home like, dude, I watched your game, like, and they forget that they just don't see the UC Davis on very much. So like, for me, when like more eyeballs are on you, that was always an aid for me. It helped me. It brought out the best in me. And I feel like I played up to the stage in those moments in my, career. And it was exciting. It actually helped me feel less sore. It helped me be more athletic and on the field. Like the adrenaline really drove me, and harnessing adrenaline, harnessing anxiety or pressure to produce something good is a thing that competitors and athletes do well. Successful athletes do well. And there's times where some athletes, some personalities, some people are great in the weight room, are great on the practice field, but do not show up in a game. Do not show up when there's actually something meaningful. And that it factor is like, it's it. And and people can't always describe it or define it. So, what do you kind of make of like just the whole national TV exposure, potential pressure, potential bright lights on the current makeup of our team?
Well, it's a good point. I think having watched the culture that Coach Plow built last year, which was very much about like, the externals are the externals. Like we focus on what we focus on. And we really saw them deliver on that at a high level last year, with, not this exact situation, but um, similar situations where there was a lot of external stuff, being on a certain platform. And, you know, but that group isn't here anymore, right? And so this is an early test of how can the team come together to support each other, to just be laser focused and really, like you said, use it as an aid, if anything, but probably more important to just drown it out with the focus on the task at hand. I mean, look, this is a huge contest with Mercer. We're all the way focused on that, but it's the first in a three game road trip. It's like we've got Mercer, then we've got Utah Tech, and then we go up to UW. And so it's one game at a time, trying to go 1-0 every week. But I think that the culture that is carrying over from last year will be the key to, even for the newer guys, the younger guys that aren't as road tested. This will be a good gut check, a good early test of that dynamic, let alone a worthy opponent. So I'm excited for them. Like we talked about last year, Brock, like we want to be winning and learning, as we go. And so, win, lose or draw, they're going to learn a lot that's going to help them throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ugly games last year. And we talked about this on a recent episode with the Portland State game when Miles was talking about that being his favorite memory of last year. I didn't even remember it. I was trying to block it out of my memory because it was a crappy game. In some ways, like I'm like, that was not a good game.
Right.
I don't think they left feeling like, let's go, like we're gonna take everyone. It just wasn't it. And so I think it's interesting from that standpoint as like you can play really poorly, and yet you win the game, and that's what people remember. And so that's a little bit of that it factor too. It's just like grinding out a win and having guys that, again, like Caden Pinnock could be all the things physically, but the thing that makes him special, we think, is the competitor it factor that like just finds a way to win and will a team to victory, even if it means scrambling around in an off schedule play. So
You know
I
what?
think that's
One last thought
yeah.
before we move, because I know we got to move. But it's a painful parallel to bring up. But when I like just what I've seen of Caden, what I hope for him, who it makes me think of? It makes me think of Eric Barrier up at Eastern
Oh,
Washington.
yeah.
And you know what
Yeah.
game it makes me think of?
Yep.
The quarterfinal loss.
100%.
And that last play was completely willed by an elusive, dynamic, dual threat
Yeah.
quarterback who made something happen. And
100%.
I just think about the potential, like similar size, shifty, can throw. So I'm just really excited to get the journey started and believe in where it's headed, knowing that there'll be mistakes and ugly moments, but I do think that they'll be fewer than, again, what you might expect from someone this early in their career.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's time for us to do the looking ahead, sponsored by Bold, Polsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson, or BPMNJ. BPMNJ. They are our MVP sponsor this year, and they're a bunch of studs, including Scott and his father, who are UC Davis grads and big time connectors of the program. But as we look ahead, which we should all do with our futures in all of these ways that are very important, Dwight, and we, due to their generosity, are taking care of our families, our wills, our
Absolutely.
trusts, our estate plans, and we're very excited, and our wives are very excited about this because they're like, praise God, the podcast is giving us something in our lives that will help our children.
Well,
And we
the
say
point is,
amen.
it's never too early to look ahead, right?
That's it, Dwight. You're so right. Um, I think something that caught both of our eyes was the too deep. And so I think in looking ahead to this Saturday's game, like it really is a big opportunity for a lot of guys because even like Coach Soto talks about in our interview with him, which we'll have later in the pod, like he's like there's like 7 guys who can get reps at receiver. And all of a sudden you throw the ball to one of them and he like shimmies and goes 80 yards for a touchdown. Like that guy could be your number one receiver that year all of a sudden. There's things like that happen with teams. So there's a lot to be proved from week one. I think starting with the receiver room is a fun thing to do because of your affinity for the position. I've shared there is a lack of height, which is a thing. There is an abundance of speed, which is a thing. So when you look at that too deep at the wideout position, what stands out to you, Dwight?
Yeah, I mean, the height thing is just, as a 6'4" guy, it hurts my heart a little bit, but, whatever helps the Ags win. Across if we look at the three, we've got Sam Batu at 5'10". We've got Stacey Dobbins, speedy Stacey Dobbins, 5'7", and we've got Zach Jones at 5'9". So that's average of 5'8". But you know what? That's it's all about the
That is
scheme.
tiny, dude. It is tiny.
That is tiny. That is tiny. That is tiny. But again, you look at guys that have had great careers here, Coach Soto, who you'll hear from later. Tom Hemmingson. There's a legacy of shorter speedsters at Davis, even back to Charlie Enos in the years that I was growing up going to Toomey Field. So, what that tells me is the ability to separate, the ability to get open in space, and the ability to kind of get involved in the run blocking game is going to be something I'm looking for this week, because for me as a 6'4" guy, it was natural for me to be able to get a body. But when you've got guys who are a little smaller, it's just going to be important and something that's really key. And I know blocking as receivers at Davis is always kind of a top skill that's taught. So I'm curious to see some of these new names like Fernando Morales. I'm curious to see how many guys get into the rotation in different packages. Heard a lot of great things about Tyler Hennessy, so excited to see him in the 2 deep. And my one guy that's over 6 feet, Scott Nixon. When we're looking at the 2 deep, so I'm just curious to see. Obviously we know about Batu, we know Dobbins. Beyond that, excited to see who the number 3, number 4 guys are who get in the game and make things happen, either with the ball in their hands or blocking for our RBs and our QB.
Yeah, Samuel Akem, who caught 2 touchdowns against us, 3 touchdowns in 2018 when we ended up coming back and destroying Montana in Missoula, had a sit down with Batu at the media day. Because remember, Sam Batu was there representing us with Rex. And Sam's like, he's pretty much the top Big Sky receiver coming back, or one of the top. And, he's hella explosive. And so what I'm looking for is some scramble route touchdowns, man. Like Caden pivots out of the pocket and is moving, and Batu just freaking turns it vertical and see you later. So I think that is interesting. I know they love Stacy Dobbins, who kind of had an up and down freshman year. It was kind of like the same with Stacy, as we always talked about with Jordan Fisher. We're like, what the heck? Why is this happening? I saw Stacy working out to the side. He is going to play on Saturday, which is a big deal because it was kind of like borderline if he was going to be healthy enough. And this is what Coach Plow and I talked about at practice. He's like, yeah, we don't have height at receiver. He's like, but we have it at tight end. And he's like, and we're going to use our tight ends. Like, it's no secret. Plow loves tight ends. He's going to use our tight ends. That room is stacked. Connor Benesio's 6'6", and he's the 4th tight end, number 15. We all know Winston Williams, Ian Simpson, Mitchell Dixon. Those guys are all going to play, and they're all seniors, and they're all big too. But interesting if Connor gets any burn. He's a tall kid.
So
I won't. Yeah, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, when you look at this 2 deep, is there anything that surprised you, or because there is one thing that I saw that I was like, very interesting, and it's on the special team section. Who's our number one? Who's our number one kick returner?
Yeah, that is very interesting. I did not notice that. I would thought you would. I did not notice that. Rex Connors, dope.
And
put him back
and
there, dudes.
Batu returning, looks like he's stepping in, returning punts. Obviously, Mateo Perez kind of carried the rock on that for us last year. But exciting to see Batu in that role, and also cool to see the transfer of Kalani Riddick on the list as well. I was curious to see where he shook out. Looks like he's also on the 2 deep at is it nickel, or no? He's at safety, so he's gonna be rotation.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna start. Every time I went to practice, he was starting. I think Cole Batson's also on there, but I'm not sure if he's gonna play. Rex and Kalani were always kind of side by side on the back end. Trey Carr's the Fresno kid who transferred in, who they have slotted at one corner, and then Marquise Bell or Ty Richardson's the Tufts kid who they like. It'd be interesting. Corners, we've been taller in recent years. We're not as tall
Yeah.
this year there
Yeah.
either, but we have a lot of guys like Jaden Stanley. Shout out Jaden Stanley's mom. She's a big pod supporter. It is someone who they've obviously had at press conferences and that they think highly of. Josiah Allen's the UTEP kid. There's just a lot of depth. Whereas like maybe Josiah Allen's not starting, but like you bring in a kid on who made a bunch of plays at an FBS school the last couple of years. We're probably just as good as them, but still, it's like bringing a starter back from our program. So I would say that's a good find about Rex Connors on kick returner. Kalani Reddick was the name that stood out to me. And looking at the defense, I'll start up front. And talking to Coach Coombs, I'm like, hey, like, what are you thinking about this D line? Do you have a lot to replace? And he's been really happy with the transfer, Jacob Syke, and then Daryl Porter, the Harvard or the Dartmouth transferred. So Sykes from Harvard, Daryl Porter's from Dartmouth. And they traveled Tyler Parker, the freshman
That's awesome.
who has a fascinating story, went to Santa Margarita, blew up as like this big time influencer kid, and then ends up transferring to a smaller school and like still carving out a good career at Crean Lutheran, and now he's traveling as a freshman. I don't think they are getting to travel 90 guys. So
I think it's
the
70.
dude might
I think
play.
it's 78. I think it's 78 guys.
That's a lot then. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Trent Carra, the Marin Catholic kid. He's got an opportunity this year. Rain Mayo, make it rain. Rain Mayo Jr. He's a big boy in the middle. Is he going to be that next big boy in the middle at 320 plug in space? He's got the size. And then I would say at the DN position, Jaden Few is a freshman that I think might have surprised some folks that he's, on this list. But he was one of the names that came up. He went to St. Bonaventure with Coach Coombs, and 6'5", 250 freshman out of Ventura, St. Bonaventure High School, good football program. So that's going to be an opportunity for him. And then I will say that Connor's dad was telling me, hey, a guy you need to look out for is Grant Garrettson. Grant Garrettson might be like a glue guy for this defense this year, and that's someone else that Coach Coombs really likes. Sam, obviously, is explosive off the edge, and he'll have his opportunities. We know during passing downs, maybe he's a little bigger and will play in rundowns a bit more. We'll see. And as I go down the list, Rutch at middle linebacker, the San Ramon Valley kid, number 8, Nate Rachina. He started there at Cal and was super productive early in his career. And then they flipped him to tight end, and then he transfers here as a grad transfer. And like, it's him and Porter in the middle. And he's a pretty impressive specimen, 6'4", 240 when you see him. So, dude, there's a lot of talent on the defense. There's a lot of talent on the defense.
Yeah.
I'll kick it back to you and just give me your 2 cents on the running back room. Maybe we do like a fun prediction, like who's going to lead the team in yards on Saturday rushing? Jordan Fisher, Mateo Perez, or Carter Vargas?
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing Kai Asaya correctly.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing him in some of the it must have been spring ball and last year. And he's explosive and dynamic as well. So I don't know, man. I'm a love all these guys. And I've heard Vargas is just a special talent. I love me some Jay Fish. There's really nothing that I'm basing this prediction on, but would love to see Jay Fish go off in multiple games. His ability to find the space and hit the seam and just jump cut so quickly. We love Jay Fish and want to see him have an amazing year. But you know what I would love, rather than one guy who blows the yardage out of the water, to have all three backs going above 70 yards. Like,
Yep.
that would be incredible.
Yep. 100%. Well, we could talk all night. We're not going to. We're going to
Yeah.
leave the people wanting more because that's what we do. We're doing the thing and people are enjoying it ish. And so we're going to get to the Buckhorn Grill score predictions, Buckhorn meat score predictions. We'll see. We got a nice announcement coming soon. Mr. Holtman knows what's up. And if you haven't already, just some reminders, like you should follow us on X and Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe for $5 a month on Spotify. Then you can actually watch us and our wisdom teeth faces when we give these podcasts. You'll get early access to the podcast. You'll get a bunch of other bonus episodes that we've got vaulted there. I think we're up to 5 or 6 now, which are pretty cool. But there's a lot happening on Instagram specifically in terms of content. So I would say if you're listening, you're like, well, I don't just follow us on Instagram. And if you're going to the game and you're listening to this while you're flying or while you're going on a hot, humid run tomorrow in Montgomery, you should tag us on your hot, humid run and say, it's hot here. Go Ags. And we'll repost the thing on Instagram. We really want to do that on away games more. This is something that we're passionate about, like being more of like a hub for people to get their fandom up for UC Davis. And it's working. Our score predictions, we got 49 score predictions on here, Dwight. And there's a lot of good ones. I would say Taylor Sloat's second time he's gotten shouted out is
Shout out
probably
Sloter.
the best. It's probably the best. So,
But Brock,
don't-
did he give an actual score prediction?
no, he didn't. But I think you should read what he said.
So it doesn't qualify. Sorry, Sloat.
He said, I'm going with Ags win by greater than 5. Soto dials up 1 successful trick play. Blue Force forces 2 takeaways. Is he saying greater than 2 takeaways? Not sure. 2 calf cramps resulting in time lost combined between teams. 0 headsets thrown. And 1 well-trimmed mustache between head coaches. It's too early in the season. He said less than 1, so I think he means none. I think. Well, my mustache looks decent, so there you go. And then I would say this: we're gonna give him a hat if all that works out. He's gonna get he'll get a navy or beige hat, and that's my last plug. It's the hats are fire; they're gonna be done any day now. If you guys want to order them, the pre-sale's over, but we're gonna open it back up for folks who want to order in the second go around. So you can find that at our website, AggiePridePodcast.com. So. That's my long-winded.
Getting added to the pool for the hat giveaway, right? Is still live until Saturday.
There's a day we've gotten 8 new subscribers during the giveaway, so people are subscribing. People want the hat. Let's see if we can get a few more, and then a lovely hat could be yours. Dwight, you picked us to win the Big Sky. So we know you are probably going to pick us to win this game too, although technically that doesn't mean we would win the Big Sky. You get it.
No.
What are you thinking on this one?
Well, before we get to the score prediction, just thinking about these two teams and the matchup, right? I see there's just some uncanny similarities when you look at, win-loss column last year, kind of the team, what pieces the team lost, and having some big pieces being lost, and it looks like successfully replacing those, but having some question marks that need to be proven starting on Saturday. So it's just an exciting matchup when I look at it, and two teams that mirror each other in a lot of ways, but there are some differences. One that I'll call out is, the linebackers. We've got, Porter Connors coming back. We got Nate It's Ruchenia or Ruchenia?
Richena, I think is how you
Ruchena.
pronounce it.
Ruchena. Apologies,
Let me,
Nate, if you're listening.
no, I'll get it right. I'll go to the roster and it'll give us the phonetics, but keep going.
While you're doing that, to me, that level of the defense is going to be key in what I've been reading up on. That looks like that might be more of a question mark on the Mercer side. Now they have returners on the defensive line that are highly touted, and so it'll be up to our offensive line protecting Caden and Caden's ability to evade if someone gets through. And so I really think that both teams are strong. I really see our defense coming in a bit stronger than their defense. So their ability to stop our offense being a little less than our ability to stop theirs. And I think that'll be the name of the game. So I think there's going to be scoring. We'll see if it starts slow. Sometimes those first games do. But I think things will heat up. But I am looking at a 2-score differential at the end, and so my score prediction is going to be 34-17 UC Davis.
I like that. That's confident. And I think we should be pretty confident. I think for me, it's really going to come down to, because I agree with the similar build of the team, like strong up front on both sides of the ball, having to replace a lot on the defensive side of the ball. Mercer was the number one team in FCS last year with rush defense. They end up getting trounced by North Dakota State, and this will be a good barometer for like how good is the SoCon, because they haven't been getting as much love from the playoff committee in terms of seeding and number of teams and stuff, and so we'll see. Like when you look at their schedule, dude, like we're the best team they're gonna play all year. They're starting with their best opponent. When you look at our schedule, is Mercer the best team we're gonna play all year? No. Sac State's probably gonna be better. Montana State's gonna be better. Idaho's gonna be really good. Northern Arizona's supposed to be really good. Like Weber State could be better. You don't know. And so for me, it's all about the quarterback, and DJ Smith is their guy. And is he going to be able to have that experience factor from his half season playing last year and playing in the South and feeling maybe a little more comfortable than Caden? Or is it a Keenan Allen welcome to college football introduction for the FCS world on Caden Pinnock? Like, is it kind of like, Ryan Gomez, who I played high school football with, who lives in Sacramento, is like texting me like, yo, you guys have the Delaware quarterback? I remember that dude in high school. He was dope. I'm like, that's the type of recruit we have in Caden. And so it comes down to him. It comes down to quarterback play. And I think that is tied into Coach Plow. It comes down to Coach Plow being able to call up a game that makes sense and easing him into the game, giving him easy reads, open looks, using his legs, rolling him out, things that he already knows he's good at. Are we doing any RPO stuff where he actually keeps it this year? Like, so much we'll find out. Are we going to run him when he get in goal lines? And so I'm really excited. I don't think we blow him out of the water. I don't think we score 34 points. I always hope I'm wrong. For me, it's 24-13 UC Davis. I think our defense is legit, and I think we are built to stop the run under Coombs, and they want to run. Right. I don't think they're going to run that well against us. Teams don't. And so we will stop the run. They'll run for less than 125 yards, and we'll hold them to a touchdown and a couple field goals. And then we'll record a post-game podcast in the Shelton household in which we all are drinking cervezas, minus Pat, through healthy teeth that can handle the alcohol.
Love it. Love it.
Fiend, I'm good, man. Do you want to
Okay.
Give any shout outs before you go?
No, I'd say just stick around for the interview with a former teammate of Brock and myself, who also ended up coaching at Davis, went on to coach at a couple different spots, and now is the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for the Mercer Bears. And he was so kind to join us to reminisce a little bit on our experience as Aggies, share a little bit about his coaching journey and his excitement about this game. So shout out to Coach Soto. Like you'll hear me say in the interview, all the love in the world. I want you to have an amazing season starting on Sunday.
That's right. That's right.
That's it for me.
All right, Dwight. I'll see you Saturday morning in Sacramento. Bring your A game. I'm bringing my new sticks.
I look forward to seeing you in your new sticks, and hopefully you can bring some of that Bay Area temperate weather and help us drop below the triple digits for Saturday.
Yeah, at least we're playing earlier. All right, dude. I'm going to get to it and start editing.
All right, man. Okay.
Peace.
Peace.
This episode is sponsored by the Larison Real Estate Team, Bob and Jan Larison. You already know the name. They've been incredible supporters of UC Davis football, this podcast, and of course, they're Land's parents, now cheering him on as he suits up for the New England Patriots. Off the field, Bob and Jan are one of the top real estate teams in the region, helping folks buy and sell across Idaho and Eastern Oregon. Whether it's a home, land, or investment property, they bring experience, hustle, and heart to every deal. So if you're looking to make a move or just want honest guidance, check out LarisonTeam.com or follow them on Instagram at Larison Real Estate. Huge thanks to Bob and Jan for backing Aggie Pride. We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, like, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community.
Before we get rolling, you mentioned Pat McCann, and I've heard so many great things, like TJ, like we still are in touch. All these guys are like, man, Coach McCann is the best receiver coach I've ever had. Talk a little bit about like that dude, because as a fellow receiver, for the years that we played together, we had like a carousel of a different guy every year.
Guy pretty much every year.
Yeah.
I think a couple of the things that like struck me just working with Pat is just like number one was this super low ego guy. Like he didn't care, where the idea was coming from, whether it was a head coach or whether it was someone in their first year coaching or from a player. Like I felt like he was always in search of, hey, what's the best way to maximize, my players, and just a very low ego, hardworking guy. Felt like he was always searching for new information, always reaching out to to other guys in the field, or reading a new book, always kind of looking for a new angle to get the most out of the group. And then I think from a technique standpoint, man, he was just really, really solid in everything he was doing, and thought he had a good way of being able to build the connection with the players, and then be comfortable around them and comfortable, hanging out at the house or coming into the office and just, shooting the breeze, but also like having that ability to, to be demanding and hold him accountable. So I thought that he was a really good blend of both of those things. And, obviously has been really, really successful throughout his career.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Brock.
What's up? What's up, Soto? It's been a
Oh,
while.
Brock.
I got my wisdom teeth out on Monday,
Okay.
and so I am able to like
Thank you,
move
Brock.
my mouth more than ever, and yet I still sound crazy. So yeah, sorry about that.
You look good, man.
Anyways, this is pretty unique, man. Like I literally texted Taylor Sloat 2 days ago while I was on Norco, and I was like, "Do you have Soto's number?" And he's like, "I think he sends me a 559 number."
Yep.
So that's like actually kind of one of my first thoughts. So you're from Fresno, you went to UC Davis, you've coached on the East Coast, now you're in the friggin' deep South.
Yep.
Um, what has that been like for you? Like, I remember you as like a quieter guy, and that was how I was when I played too. Now that we do the podcast, I get to like share what I was actually thinking all of
Sure.
those times. But what would you say like your demeanor's like now? Do you feel like you're the same type of coach as you were player, like more like choice with your words, like pick your moments? Or do you feel like you've really kind of embraced like, hey, I'm going to be a lot more communicative?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I'd say similar, similar in terms of demeanor. Like, um, I want to be obviously open with the players and be able to communicate like our standards and what we value and what's important within the program. But I think our entire staff I think is similar in that like we're not like kind of the yell and scream just to yell and scream, type of staff. Like when, you really get on a guy, you want it to mean something, but not be, something that's, nonstop every single time. So, I'd say similar in my approach and demeanor that way. But, as you grow in the profession, you gotta develop some of those skills and again get out of your comfort zone a little bit where I've kind of felt like as a player even kind of in the later years a little bit more reserved in the fact that I always felt like, and I don't know if I'm like at the level of some of these other guys to like really be getting on other people. I always felt like there's things I can do better and things I can improve before I really um start speaking too much to the group. So I felt like I was kind of always focused, internally about improving myself before, I'm real open to get on a group of people that way.
Yeah. When I tell you, like Taylor Float just text me your number this week, like that gives our audience, which dude, we have a lot of alumni and football alumni who listen, an idea of like your deep connection with the program. So like what has this week been like? Have you gotten any jab text messages from ex teammates? Are you trying to like just stay super unemotional about it? Like this is really unique and it's on
Yeah, no, it really
ESPN
is.
and it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Me and Mike Cody are obviously really good friends and played together, and still stay in touch with him quite a bit. So, um, I think we've kind of approached it just as a normal week as far as the practice and the preparation. But just reflecting on it, it is a pretty cool opportunity. Just both programs, us as we're still a relatively young program at Mercer, getting to be on a national stage. And then, it's awesome as an alumni. It's awesome to see what's happened at Davis over the last, decade since I've last been there. And I think you guys probably feel the same as, while we were there, you felt like it had the potential to, be a program that could be a perennial power and contender. And, it was just going to take the right leadership and the commitment and the investment from everybody, the admin, the community, and I think they it's headed in the right direction. Obviously Coach Hawkins did a great job getting the ball rolling, and then Coach Plow's taking it a step further and done an awesome job in his first year as a head coach.
Yeah, and I'll pass it back to Dwight after this one. So I'm interested, and I think a lot of people will be interested in like just what Mercer, the school, is like because we see this beautiful stadium and we're kind of a little disappointed the game's just not at Mercer, to be honest. I mean, I think it's kind of cool that it's in Montgomery,
Sure.
but I'm a little worried. Like, I wonder what the travel support's going to be like as opposed to if it was on y'all's campus and that stadium looks beautiful. But like, just give our audience like a peek into who is Mercer? Like, what is the school like? What are the student athletes like? What's it like to work there for yourself? And then Dwight will kind of shift us towards like, what's the team actually like?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's some similarities in compared to Mercer and Davis, higher academic institution. It's, obviously smaller than Davis. Or about, I think, right about 8,500 students. So it's a little bit smaller campus, but, definitely a place that takes academics seriously and, takes athletics seriously as well. I've had a lot of success, not only in football, but the rest of our athletic department. And, it's really, really a great place to work. We got unbelievable support from our administration, from people on campus, from the community. So it's been an awesome place to work this last season. Obviously we're able to win a conference championship, and that was fantastic. But yeah, it's unique. I think it's again, the mix of it being a higher academic school as well as being able to compete at a high level in football is pretty special. And, like I said, I've really enjoyed working there. And, we've got a great staff, a lot of guys that we've been 2, 3 schools together now. So we've got kind of unique camaraderie there. And I think that's been part of the reason for our success.
Yeah, that last piece that you talked about, Soda, the continuity on the staff, when we think about Davis, there's a similar dynamic, obviously with Coach Plow coming in, but there's just guys on that staff who have been rolling together for a while. I think that's such a huge component to team culture and team success that doesn't get talked about a lot. So, give our listeners a sense of, the obviously Coach Jacobs, but you being in you know, a role with quite a bit of influence. What is the culture of the program and what y'all are building there in Mercer?
Yeah, so it's definitely a family atmosphere within the staff. Like I said, the majority of our staff, our kind of roots of working together go back to Notre Dame College and Cleveland. A lot of us were either on that original staff when Coach Jacobs got the head job in 16, or maybe a year or two after a handful of guys joined. And then as we went to Lenore Ryan and then to Mercer, have retained a couple of guys. But definitely a family atmosphere. I think guys who generally, love working with each other. And, it's a fun place to come to work every day. And I think the kids, the families around the program, the recruits, I think definitely get that sense when they're around our program. So I think that's been a big component to our success.
Yeah, obviously coming off last year, again, when I look at the two programs' journeys over like just the last year, just there's some similarities even when I look at what happened in the off season for both programs, what the gaps were, it's just very interesting. There are some similarities to me, and then later in the episode, Brock and I are going to get into that. But while we have you, um, you know, as a OC, you're in charge of one of the three phases and thinking about how to score points, right? And how to not turn the ball over and how to take up a lot of time of possession, and so what as you've been working with the team in your role over this past off season and now through fall camp and getting ready to get into to just leave it all out on the field on Saturday, what is the identity of your offense and kind of the culture of your offense and maybe in addition to that, Soto, like, um, without giving away anything, like what are you most excited about for especially the offense as you head into this season?
I think identity of the offense, and then really of the program, is like we want to be a program that's physical in all three phases. And that's kind of first and foremost. We want to run the football, we want to stop the run, we want to play with great effort on special teams is kind of the things we hang our hats on. So that's really what we're looking to establish. Doesn't mean we're not going to try to be explosive and throw the ball downfield, but Coach Jacobs as a head coach, those are things he really values is being physical, winning the line of scrimmage, being great on special teams. So, for us from an offensive standpoint, I think it starts with that, and kind of everything builds off of that identity of physicality. We're, in a unique spot, and really a pretty similar spot to last year where, we're kind of breaking in a new quarterback a little bit this year. The kid who's going to start the game, DJ Smith, started the beginning of the season last year, but got banged up a little bit. We ended up going with a freshman who's now at Oklahoma. So we're in a pretty kind of a similar situation to last year where um, you're going with a new quarterback. Again, the same as going into last season, we're replacing our leading rusher and leading receiver. So there's some new faces back, but there's also, some key contributors that will be replacing. So, I think the principles, the things we've valued have stayed the same, but, similar to Davis also, some of the marquee names are, have moved on, and, it's going to be a lot of new guys, out there for both teams. So, I'm excited about a lot of our young guys, some guys who have either been in reserve roles, or new players we brought into the program. We're going to be getting their first meaningful action as Mercer Bears, and seeing how they react in a big time game. We've kind of talked all off season with our team that, like, this isn't a game like some of the past ones on the schedule where they can kind of ease into the season and get some of the kinks out. Like, you're playing a really good football team, right? Great players, great coaching staff right off the bat. So we've tried to have that sense of urgency all training camp, and just knowing you're going into it's going to be a war on Saturday against a really good team.
Yeah, you talk about some of the guys maybe we haven't heard of, and I think it was Witt, who went to Oklahoma, a big tall quarterback, was freshman last year. DJ looks like a pretty good athlete, and you guys ran him some to begin last year before he got hurt. What are some other names that we can look out for, guys that you're kind of like, okay, let's see what this guy has to bring? Because fall camp's one thing. You see what someone does in fall camp and you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden the lights come on, and then a different, circumstance starts taking place because games just bring it out in certain players. So who are a couple names that we could kind of keep our eyes on when we're watching on Saturday?
Yeah, really excited about our backfield. So, Dwayne McGee was our running back last year and a leading rusher. He's Conference Player of the Year in the SoCon. He was a kid we brought over from Lenore Ryan, who's had a great career. But some of the guys we'll be featuring in the backfield. CJ Miller last year was he was kind of our number two. He was our 4 minute short yardage, put the game away type of guy, but played really well at times. He's a bigger back. He's 225, 230. Kind of thumper, but kid who can get out and run pretty well. And then a transfer, Tavius Eisen, who we brought in from Charleston Southern, who has had a great camp and really kind of just been outstanding in all areas, from whether it's running the ball or in the pass game or in pass protection. So, really excited about those two guys. We'll probably play up to 4 running backs in the game, but those two guys in particular have really stood out. And then, really looking forward to seeing, our receivers. We got a lot of guys that I think are talented and can really run. A handful of them just have, really limited game experience, but there's probably 7 or so guys who are in the mix that will get some game action. So, looking forward to see like who steps up and really makes the plays and separates themselves in some of those critical moments. But some guys who have stood out in training camp for us. Ajante Dabbs is a returner, really kind of came on at the end of last year, had a big game against Furman, went for $180 and a touchdown, had some big catches in our playoff games. And, him and kid Adonis McDaniel, who we brought over from Lenore Ryan, who's a really talented kid, had a big year last year at Division II. They'll kind of be splitting reps, but both really talented kids. Our slot guy, Braden Smith, was a big time returner last year, and slot receiver. He's kind of our speed and space guy. So, definitely a guy we want to get involved and get on the perimeter, try to take advantage of his speed. And then a name to keep an eye on, Travion Solomon was a guy who got injured in like the second or third spring practice when we got here last year, but is a really good athlete. This guy who came to Mercer on a basketball scholarship and, transitioned to football, and, maybe had the best training camp of all of our receivers. So really excited to see what he can do out there as well. But I think we got a solid group, but, like you said, it's one thing to do it in training camp. So, when it's thud and it's tag off, it's a whole nother thing to do it. When it's live and you're playing on ESPN against a top 10 team.
Man, that's a lot of names that Coach Coombs, Dwight, is got to worry about. And just, the level of athletes in the South is top end. And I feel like there's that physicality piece, like you talked about, Anthony, where it's a physical, Southern team that is going to bring it on both sides of the ball. And yet, want to establish the run, dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage, and yet you have these dudes in the backfield and on the outside that are burners or pounders who can make plays. So I'm sure, Dwight and I have limited. I saw that you coached at Hoover High in high school, your first year out of Davis. Dwight and I had our cup of coffee at the high school level. Didn't quite make it to top 10 FCS OC. Now we just talk about guys like yourself in our backyard offices. But it's just such an exciting time as a coach to think of all the work these guys have done, and just even from our vantage point now, like 15 years out of college, like seeing how people's lives progress and knowing this really important piece of their life that's still going on. Dwight, I'll kick it back to you. Before I want to ask one more thing about Davis. Like, what do you see from UC Davis's defense specifically? I feel like that's a pretty scary group to look at as well. The Connors brothers, some of the talent on the perimeter and big dudes up front, where you don't have Brock Galvin's playing D tackle anymore at UC Davis. Praise God. I'm glad I got in there while I could. Would not play on this D line. What do you make of Coach Coombs' defense?
Yeah, so you mentioned the Connors, both guys who definitely stand out on tape and on paper, the two returning starters, but they've obviously reloaded with some good talent in the portal and some guys with a lot of experience, and then I think will be good fits for what they're doing schematically. Yeah, I mean Rex is the guy who kind of jumps off the film, particularly just in run support. I mean the guy's as good at tracking the football and getting guys down in space and being physical as any safety I think we'll probably see this year. And I think schematically they do a really good job. Like they definitely have some things they hang their hat on week to week. And then, particularly on third down, you see some of the unique game plan, flavor, whether it's a, coverage or a blitz package. But, I think last year they did a great job of really communication, pursuit, tackling, limiting explosives in the back end. And I think played just really, really good, really sound football as a unit. So, even though there's not a ton of returning starters on paper, I mean, we know it's going to be a tall task for us. And there's, a number of looks that they present that can be problematic. And, we got to be ready and prepared. And it's always a little bit unique that, that first two games of the year where, you've got all the film from last year to pour over, but you never really know what a team's going to look like until you get to that first game. So it's a little bit of a filling out process, that first half, kind of seeing what's similar to what you saw from last year on tape, and then, what's different and what's new. So a lot of it, I think, just comes back to you got to execute your stuff well and not beat yourself, especially these first couple of weeks of the season, and then just do a great job of communicating with your coaches and with your players between series and at halftime as far as what you're seeing.
Yeah, that first game, that's a good point about what you have access to. And you see the new names come in, you see, the two deep, but the film from last year is the film from last year, so it's an exciting time. I think it's exciting for us as fans, as alums, and personally, it's exciting because just to have seen your journey, and to see the steps you've taken, Soto, and to see where you are now, super proud of you, man. And, obviously when the clock hits all zeros on Saturday. I'm hoping for a certain outcome that's probably different than the
Sure.
one you're hoping for. But I will say I hope that Mercer football goes 11-1 in the regular season. It's just, you talked a little bit before Brock jumped on about just the incredible coaching tree and the relationships that you've made and tapped into, and folks that came before. And I'm sure folks coming up under you and through relationship with you. And it just feels like part of the Aggie legacy is incredible coaching as well as incredible players. And you're both of those. I won't belabor our listeners with all the stories of Soto's crisp route running. Just found a way to create space no matter what.
Surgical route running.
Surgical. That's a great description. But it's just, to me, it's about the Aggie Pride, right? And it's incredible to see what you're doing, man. And we wish you all the success. I guess I would give you the last word, just reflecting on, the impact of your experience as a player at Davis. And we talked about it a little bit at the top, and just thinking about, this is the Aggie Pride podcast. Like Brock said, we've got parents, we've got, former players, we've got, just alums of UC Davis that tune in and listen and feel connected to Aggie Pride. So maybe as a closing reflection, anything else you want to share, but, speaking to those folks, your thoughts on kind of the Aggie Pride legacy.
Yeah, I think just some of the things that you learn about the history of the program, and really a lot of like the values of Coach Soker. I felt like I was able to apply, particularly like when I got my first opportunity at Notre Dame College. I remember like you watch all those videos and interviews with Coach Soker, and he talks to the team, and he talks about the early days of UC Davis football, where didn't have scholarships, you didn't have anything to speak of in terms of facilities, didn't even have spring practice, and just kind of always emphasized how the reason for their success was the trust, unity, and togetherness within the program. And really felt like I was able to kind of apply that. My first job, I was at a small D2 with really nothing to speak of in terms of facilities. Our home stadium, if you could call it that, was a turf field with some temporary bleachers. And I think a lot of the reason we were able to have success there were a lot of kind of those same principles, where we didn't have anything flashy, we didn't have any weight room or facility that was going to impress people, but we were still able to draw a lot of people to that program at the time, because I think they felt a sense of connection and a sense of unity within the team. And, so I felt like that was a kind of unique opportunity where hey, all the years you spent at Davis as a player or a coach, hearing about these values, hear about some of these influential coaches, and then being able to go and apply that. So I think, I think a lot of people who have been involved with the program would speak to that a lot of the things they learned and maybe didn't realize they were even learning at the time, you get 5, 10, 15 years down the road, and it's like, man, I'm really able to, apply a lot of these lessons I've learned from the staff and from some of the connections I've made with the program.
Well said, man. Thanks for saying yes, like almost 24 hours out from probably one of the biggest games you've ever coached in. And we're really just, it's such a unique, like we're golfing with Bobby Erskine and Pat Shelton the morning of. I don't know if Dwight told you, and like we're just gonna be bringing up Soto, slants at the goal line.
You guys coming out to the game?
No, we can't make it, dude. We can't make it, but we will be supporting from California, and I know there's hopefully a good contingency of Davis folks there. But yeah, just wild to think that you're the OC at Mercer and doing your thing, and that you guys have had so much success and such a great opportunity, like you said, for both programs on national TV. And just really, really grateful for your time, man.
I appreciate you guys. Congratulations on the success of the podcast. The last couple of days, I've enjoyed just going back through some of the old interviews, and it's been great to hear from some of the guys. I was just telling Dwight, I just finished listening to Bakari's interview, so it was awesome to just kind of hear the stories from some of the old teammates, and then also be able to get an idea what some of these guys are up to now. So
Yeah, man. You remember Coach Sartz, Dallas Sartz?
Dallas Sartz, the old USC guy.
He always used to say that. Remember during like practice, we'd be stretching and be like, on Thursdays, he'd say, "It's the day before the day before."
Yeah.
That's what this is. So, I know you got to fine tune everything, get your guys ready, get yourself ready, man. We'll be there in spirit, but the sentiment, I hope you feel it, man. We wish you and the program all the success starting on Sunday morning.
Sunday.
Appreciate you coming on, man. And, maybe we can grab some time with you at another time, get you back on the pod. But really, like Brock said, appreciate you slotting us in here late on a Thursday night.
Appreciate you guys. Great catching up.
Likewise. All right, Coach.
All right, Soto. See you, Coach.
See you guys.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Again, big thanks to Anthony Soto for joining the show. Make sure you know that you can go to AggiePridePodcast.com and get all you need. Get your hats, get your articles, get your information about where to follow the show. Share it with a buddy. It's been awesome to see the community come together. And the more that you guys share, the more we see people coming back to the fold in terms of UC Davis football. So big weekend on tap. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Make sure to help out those ESPN ratings by tuning in. And for those of you who are joining the team in Montgomery, feel free to tag us on Instagram at UC Davis Football Podcast or on X, and we'll repost it so that folks can share your journey alongside. Until next time, go Ags.